Okay, I hope you guys can hear me. Welcome to another session of in-depth into Captain. And last time I think we touched about path parameters and different stuff like that. This section will be looking and diving deeper into query parameters and just to see how they can be used, what they're used for, etc. As you can see, that is not a right example by Copilot. But we talked about path parameters, and I think it's best we differentiate them before we dive deep into what's the difference. So, and at least on the sense of captain, when you have path one slash path two, and then you go, I don't know, name. So name is a parameter, but it is a path parameter. Notice how it is part of the path. But a query parameter is going to look path one, it's going to look like this, path one, path two, and then name. So here you see you have a question mark that kind of separates the path from the query, and then the parameter you have like the argument plus the value, or some call it the key, but it's the same thing, at least in this context. So you also have age, and here, so in this scenario you have two query parameters. And then in this scenario here, you just have one path parameter, but you could also do this. And you have, again, two path parameters and two query parameters, both having the same name. That being said, um, you can also mix and match. A URL can have both parameters. And I'm counting for ChatGPT here to give me an example. It failed miserably. So uh, path parameters do have to come before the query parameters always. So this is a very good example of path parameter, maybe before something like that. And so this is a combination of a path parameter, like path three is the parameter in the path, and then you have name and Chris and whatever now. So to demonstrate how to properly kind of navigate your path parameter, let's try to put some kind of a button. So let's get into it. Now we're going to say on click, we need to handle that, but for now I'm just going to do text, and then we'll put the path there. But before, let's get the navigator, of which you can just do remember navigator. That is also another way to get the navigator. And then here, when you say on click, you're just going to say navigator navigates to maybe Chris. Let's do Chris slash Joe. And then because we're doing paths, so let's just do name equals to, let's do age equals to 45. Yeah, let's do small. This is small. And again, I want to take this parameter and put it in the button itself, just so that uh, we see the URL that we're working on really. And I also want to go to this route Joe and see that everything is working. So let's run this. So when we click here, notice it's saying going to Joe page, but that age parameter there, we don't see it because we're not using it. So I think we should just jump right on how does one gets to use these parameters. So this is the best way. So you're just going to say param, and then you're going to say remember query parameters when you're in that particular route. And then you're going to say age by params. Notice now how the variable name matches the the parameters, the parameter that has been passed here. You see, something like that. So by param, and then let's do text. Then I'm just going to say age equals to age, so that we see. So when we run this, um, and then I click here, it's going to say, welcome to Joe's page, age is 45. But let's make this a little bit interesting because it's usually better if you take these parameters from the application itself, depending on maybe a user's click the share button or whatever. So we can do that. And then how do we do this? So let's say age, that's not bad. And then we're gonna put a text field. And then we're gonna say age, sorry, so yeah, value equals to age, and then on value change, just gonna say edge equals to it, and now I'm realizing that this has to be a var for it to be mutated, and text field is screaming. Why is it screaming? I have no idea, but we shall see. Remember, mutable state of age 45. Let's see, which text field did I import? I need this one. Okay, on value change string units, and oh, I see. Age equals 8. So this should be assigned by delegation, not by assignment. And there we are. Okay, good. So with that little bit of information, we can again encode the age here, and the age here. So keep in mind, this is a simple example. It might seem, why are you doing all this? But in a large project, you might find um, these routes are defined in very different parts of the application, and you just need to send something as small as that. So when I click here, notice how it goes to 45, but I can also change this to something like 48, and then there we go, 44 on, I don't know, 76, and then I click, we get that information down to the route where the route is located. So you can definitely send other parameters. So let's say gender, by remember mutable state of male for whatever reason. Let's do the same here. Let's capture the gender from the user and also assign it to a variable as well. And also, let's pack it in here. Why not? And gender equals to gender. There we go. So let's put it again in here as well. And now let's also retrieve it, because if we want to retrieve it, we won't be able to know if our parameter passed. So we're going to be rendering the gender here, and just write this is gender and perfection. Let's see how this goes. When we run it, now we can do males, and age could be 54 for whatever reason, and there you go. So this is information captured from maybe one side of the app and then sent through the URL, and that route can read those parameters. Let's dive into kind of validation, because I want you to know all parameters are passed by strings, but you have the ability to change. So for a very good example is the age. Age is usually a number rather than a string. So what should you do? So you should do cast it dot to integer or null, depending on what. And let's say if someone has keyed in something that is not a visible age, we can do like 18, something like that. So if age is not passed by any means, we're gonna get 18. Or if someone passed a string instead of a number, we're gonna get 80. But if they pass a number, we could do something like that. So let's see. When we do this, and then maybe we leave it empty, for example. This is how the URL becomes, but when we render it, we get 18. And notice how it's been cast into a particular number. You can also, for example, someone can put words, let's say 7 instead of text. We're going to default to 18, but if they key in an actual value, maybe 90. So let's make this a little bit complicated as well, so that you can see. So for example, we will not be accepting negative values. So we can say if it's dot to int on null. So let's do this. Let's say num equals to it dot to int on null, and then you know what? It's just by default it's 0, right? We're gonna say if it is less than or equal to 0, or let's say if it's is 0, we want to return 18. Else, just return it. Like we don't want to be dealing with numbers that are less than 0. Why is this screaming? Uh, mismatch bits. string was oh sorry, this I want this to be a number. Yeah. So when you hover over here, you'll notice now edges are comparable. Well, I need to return number here. Yeah. So when we hover over this, notice how age is an int, and initially it was a string. So I can just do this for the sake. If you don't cast it into a particular type, it is a nullable string. But here, uh, when you call cast, at least Captain assumes that you know what you're doing. And what is the issue here? I think it's the ID. The ID is going berserk. So let's just run this and see. Okay, that's undo, 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 undo. No one isn't doing. Okay, what is happening here? What? I think I should undo this side. Oh yeah, there you go. Shush. Okay, so run, minimize this bad boy, and then we're gonna get. I haven't lost my train of thought here. What we're going for? Yeah, so the captain is going to assume you know what you're doing here. You've handled nulls correctly and whatnot. So notice how when we do -90, it's just gonna default to 18 because while -90 can be converted into a number, it's not a valid number that we want. So yeah, you can choose the casting whatever you want, but typically most of the time you're just gonna do like to int or null, and then if there is a null, you're going to give a default. Or sometimes if you just would like to deal with nulls by yourself, at least not in the parameter level, you still can totally do that, because if I do something like that, it's just going to say edges now. But again, you'll be dealing with a nullable value. In fact, there are a lot of built-ins, because this is a common use case. There are a lot of built-ins in the captions library. So for example, you can just go int or now itself, and then that works. You can do, sorry, you can do int or and then put a value. So this is the same. As a matter of fact, when you go into that, you'll find the implementation is exactly what we wrote, but just a quick convenience hack there that we can put in, and notice how it works the exact way. So if I say 3, we're gonna get the same 18 and whatnot. So take your time, investigate into the default cast that you have. If there is nothing, you're not locked into using the inbuilt, you can just go cast and put your custom casting there, and everything should be all right and okay. So keep in mind, when you're going to query something that is not passing the parameters, it's by default going to be null. You can also get a default, because you also have to assume that users, when they're navigating to a particular route, the queries, especially the query programs, they're usually optional. So just because your application does it does not mean if someone comes in from maybe a deep link or a direct link that is external to your application, do not assume that all the parameters are going to be there. So you have to handle the nulls gracefully. Um, let's say search for whatever reason. Remember, we don't have search. So when we come here and we do search, and then we put search here, it's going to be now, and that's okay. But so let's just test this for now. Yeah, so notice how it says search now. It's not even past the URL, so that is expected. But you have to be, because maybe when you do it to string, wait, wait, wait. So let's say to double, for example, we go to double. We're saying no, we're sure that there is a search and there is a double, but it's not passed. You're in it for like a crash. So when you go there, it's going to crash. You say fail to transform query parameter search with value that is empty because it's not there. And Yeah, so just be keen. Don't assume that your query parameters will always be available. I think that's it for this video. Next, we're looking into how you can pass like complex objects, not just these integers and whatnot. And I think that will be wrapping up our our Captain tutorial session. So we have one video remaining, one tutorial session that will be covering exactly that. Thank you for watching. I'll catch you in the next one.